In this lesson, we're going to take a look at how to publish out our Adobe Captivate quiz file that we've created to utilize in Acrobat.com in our previous lesson. So just to take a quick look at what we have set up here is essentially we've got a handful of slides that have several, 5 or 6 quiz questions set up for ourselves. So we have just a basic master slide set up. At some point they jump down to the end when they're completed with the quiz, and it allows them to submit their answers, and in turn they're graded through Acrobat.com. So what we have set up here is essentially a quick file that does all that. Now, I want to take a look, and when you're finished with this file, there's certain properties that you want to set up in order to properly display it in online. So what we're going to take a look at is the publishing settings. So when you're done with your quiz, when you've created the quizzes that you want to come down to Adobe Captivate, and you want to come into your publish settings. Go to your publish settings here. And when your published settings are brought up, what you want to utilize is the Acrobat.com portion for your quiz reporting. So I'm going to come down to Project, and in my project I've got a couple of different settings here. I want to come to my, you can start with your project you want and fill in some basic information for yourself, such as the author, your email, your web address, what have you. I just keep everything the same for that settings and don't really change too much there. But I will change how this reports for my quiz. You've got a number of options for enabling reportings when you want to set this up. Now, what happens is when you go to the quiz reportings, it's going to ask you, do you want this to report results? And when you enable reporting for this project, that's basically going to allow those quiz results sent somewhere. Ideally, it's some sort of LMS that we have set up. Now, Acrobat.com, even though I wouldn't call it a full-blown LMS by any stretch of the imagination, it does allow us to do some really, really nice items for free, no pennies at all. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to make sure that Enable Reporting for this project is selected, and I'm going to go ahead and select Acrobat.com. Now, when I click Acrobat.com, I'm going to click Configure, and it's going to jump into a little sign up for myself. And you want to go ahead and plug in your Adobe ID account, which you should have created already. If not, you can create an Adobe account with the link here. Once you plug that information in, you want to add in your company or institute. So this might be your, got my own business, so that's mine, but you might be Sam Houston State University or what have you, and then your department, academics or history or whatever it happens to be. And then you plug in your course information. And I've got IT 102 Internet Basics. So all of this information is going to be spit into the Acrobat.com, and that's how you're going to essentially find your class. So this information needs to be relevant to you between, if you've got a handful of classes you're doing this with, you want to be pretty specific in how you set everything up. And once you've done that, you would go ahead and press OK, and it would send the information to Acrobat.com. Once that information is sent, then your students can complete the quizzes once you have it available for them. A couple of other things too that you might want to set up. You've got your, if we come down here to quiz settings, I went ahead and placed the IT 102 written final examination. That's the name of my quiz. You want it to decide how the users can navigate through the questions. I have it set up to where they answer every question. And then your objective ID and your interaction ID prefix. I've only got a handful of quizzes, and Acrobat.com is not that robust of an LMS. So essentially, I just set up my objective ID, since it's the ID for the quiz itself, as IT 102. And this is a written, so I might want to put a W right after that. And the interaction ID, interaction prefix is essentially a ID that's set up to every interaction that the student does. So as they fail and they make multiple attempts, it's assigned an ID prefix. Now this is something that we're not really going to need for our Acrobat.com, but this is something that you may need if you've got a more robust LMS system set up at your particular institute. So I'm going to keep this pretty simple. I'll just add something simple here for myself. My ID prefix, I'm not even going to bother with that because I don't really need it. And then I'm going to press OK. And then I would go out, and once I have all my settings intact, I'm going to go to Publish. And I'm going to go ahead and choose to publish this as a Flash file. Now, when I have this Flash file, it's going to spit out my Swift file. And you need to be aware of, if you're going Flash, then you might have issues on the tablet device in. So if you want people to complete this quiz on the iPad, it's not going to happen if it's a Flash file like this. So that's a concern for you to keep in mind. You also have other publishing options that you could run. You could run a executable file if you want to for Windows or Macintosh. So you have those options as well if you just want to install these on a machine and not have students go online and do it. That is an option. You don't necessarily have to have these published online, but it's just doing it online is great because it has flexibility. Students can get to this stuff anywhere. Although technically you don't have to do that to make this work. But I do a Swift. And you could even upload your executable files too online, and they could just download those and run, but they might have some permission issues. So current setup, Swift's a pretty good way to go. So once you have that set up for yourself, you want to make sure that you give it a name here, a project title. And one thing to keep in mind for your project title, since this is creating your Swift file you're going to upload, you want to get rid of the spaces in your project title. So I would just do an IT, 102 written, maybe for, W if I can type that in. That way, when it's published and you upload it, that becomes part of the address. They click on it. That's very easy to worry about there. So that would be something that I would recommend. And then you go to publish. And once it's published, it's ready to go. You essentially want to take the next step in the process and upload this to your website, which we'll take a look here in a minute.